Hey everybody, welcome to Nutri-iQ Radio, where we talk about all things food, fitness, and feeling good. I'm your host, Sean Hare, and this week we're going to learn how a few small tweaks to your diet can help to save the planet. A couple of weeks ago, David Attenborough released a new documentary on Netflix, A Life on Our Planet. In it, he showed the devastating impact we humans have had on our planet and continue to have. We know climate change is happening. That's not up for debate or political opinion. It's a fact. We know that burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We know that we're overfishing, overfarming, and destroying habitats all over the planet for our short-term gain. And that's exactly the problem. Destroying rainforests and oceans like we are right now might provide fish, farmland, and the wood for our new furniture, but it's not sustainable. We can't keep doing it forever. The planet we live on is one huge symbiotic organism. Everything feeds back into the system to allow it to keep going. You know about Mufasa and the circle of life. We've broken that circle. If we carry on the way we are, the planet will become uninhabitable for us. Extreme weather will continue to get worse, homes will continue to be destroyed, oceans will run out of fish for us to eat, and even farmland will become infertile due to overfarming. But it's not too late to fix it. We hear about these horror stories of the future and where we're headed, and we find ourselves wondering what we can do about it. Just single, insignificant us. What can one person really do? One person can be part of a movement of many. One person can make a choice. One person can support the right kind of farming through their buy-in choices and where they choose to buy from. We're about to tell you 3 small changes you can make just to your diet alone that would help us correct that course that we're on. Number 1, eat more plants. You've probably got vegan friends on Facebook who post memes for days about how going vegan is what you should be doing. When it comes to the planet though, they're right. David Attenborough explains in the documentary, large carnivores are rare in nature because it takes a lot of prey to support each of them. For every single predator on the Serengeti, there are more than 100 prey animals. Whenever we choose a piece of meat, we too are unwittingly demanding a huge expanse of space. The planet can't support billions of large meat eaters. There just isn't the space. If we all had a largely plant-based diet, we need only half the land we use at the moment. Excuse the terrible impersonation. I was debating with myself whether I should do it or not, but I went for it. Anyway, needing less farmland means cutting down fewer trees. Cutting down fewer trees means more trees to absorb the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and provide us with oxygen. You know, that thing we need to breathe. Cutting down fewer trees also means more wildlife continues to exist. The other issue with animal consumption is that animals are gassy. When they fart, they release methane, which is around 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide as a greenhouse gas. By the way, did you know that around 25% of the drugs we use today were derived from rainforest plants? Nature holds answers to our problems that we're yet to discover. If we destroy it to make space for more avocado trees or palm oil trees, do avocados grow on trees? I think so. Anyway, we're losing those answers forever. As another example, electric eels are being studied right now as the foundation for new battery technology. Nature worked out how to hold electricity in living cells long before Alessandro Volta invented the first modern battery. And that brings us on to our second change. Number 2, try a Mediterranean diet. Think back to what David said for a second. Let's go for it again. If we all had a largely plant-based diet, we'd need only half the land we use at the moment. Largely plant-based. Studies show that a vegan diet would have the least impact on the planet, but in terms of emissions, a vegetarian diet isn't too far off, and a Mediterranean diet is a close third. Mediterranean diet means fish and poultry a few times a week, and red meat maybe once a month. You don't need to go vegan tomorrow, but easing your way towards a more plant-based diet definitely helps. Just gradually edge yourself towards it. Try a meat-free meal from the Nutri-iQ app next week, or a recipe focused on fish. Turn that into a meat-free Monday once you've tried out a few, and keep it going from there. We've talked about how moving slowly towards that largely plant-based diet reduces the need for farmland. But what about the farming that doesn't actually happen on land? Number 3, choose sustainably sourced fish. Overfishing is another big problem right now. The ocean plays a huge part in our battle to reduce carbon in the atmosphere. The ocean doesn't just help us in the battle against climate change though, it provides us with food too. If we overfish in a certain area, the bigger predators there die out. With no big predators for the tiny organisms to feed on when they die, that circle of life breaks too, which means we run out of fish to catch and no more food for us. But we can do better here too. There are sustainable methods of fishing that help ocean diversity to grow. In Palau, a Pacific island nation, they restricted fishing practices and banned fishing completely in certain areas. Fish populations in those protected areas became so healthy and so large that they began to spill over into the permitted fishing areas. As a result, fishermen are now able to catch more fish while allowing the marine life to recover at the same time. If you're in the UK, look for the blue Certified Sustainable Seafood MSC label when you're buying fish. And wherever you're listening from in the world, do a quick Google to find out how you can tell if the fish you're buying has sustainably been fished or responsibly farmed. I'm going to give you a bonus option now. Now, it's not exactly a diet change, but it kind of is, so I'm going to go with it. Bonus option, get a chicken. Like I said, getting a chicken or two isn't directly a change to your diet, but seeing as it lets you switch from cage to free range, I'm going to say it counts. Thinking back to how meat eaters demand so much space, why not use some of the space you already have? Keeping chickens actually requires a lot less space than you might expect. Just 1 to 2 square meters per chicken is actually ideal. They provide you with food directly through laying eggs, but you can also use their poo for fertilizer if you decide to start growing your own veg as well. Keeping 3 to 4 chickens, if you can, is great because they're social animals, and with enough space, you don't have to worry about them fighting. Most hens lay an egg every day, which means if you've got 3 hens, that can be more than enough for a few breakfasts each week for the family. Plus, eggs are a complete protein source. So if you've been concerned about getting enough protein intake by adopting a more plant-based diet, your chickens have got you covered. Getting yourself a small coop of 4 chickens can cost around £750 up front, then around $300 or so per year. So as a pet, they're actually quite cheap as well. They're great for kids too. Hens that are handled as chicks grow up to be really tame, and keeping the chickens teaches kids to value where food comes from. It encourages them to get started in the kitchen to start using the eggs. It helps them learn to count, and they might even become little local business people selling excess eggs to neighbours. All of these options, going more plant-based, choosing sustainable fish, and keeping chickens, are small steps towards a better world. In fact, they're steps towards any world at all for our children and grandchildren. There's tons more we can all do as well. Buying things made from recycled materials, upcycling furniture rather than buying everything new, getting a beehive to help your local environment flourish, and loads more. What are your thoughts on small changes for a better world? Are you planning to adopt a more plant-based diet? Maybe keep an eye out for sustainably sourced fish? Or maybe even get yourself a few chickens? If you're listening as a podcast, send an email to Sean@nutri-iq.net and use the subject line podcast to let us know what you're thinking. That's SHAUN@NUTRI-IQ.net. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, let us know down below. So thanks for tuning in to Nutri-iQ Radio this week. If you're listening as a podcast and you haven't already, if you could leave a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic, and you can even do that right in the app. Any reviews you leave, I'd love to give you a shout out on this show, and of course, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, if you could give the video a like, that will be a massive help because it lets them know that these shows are something people enjoy, so they're more likely to show them to other people. And finally, if you want to follow us around social media, make sure you like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram @NutriIQ without the dash, follow us on Twitter @NutriIQ official, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nutri-iQ TV. See you next week.